This is lesson 10.2, Evaluating Expressions. This is page 269. This first page there's a lot of learning on this page, but there's no actual problems. So this video will be page 269, and then it will go on to the beginning of page 270 where we'll solve a few problems. The essential question is, how can you use the order of operations to evaluate algebraic expressions? We need to learn about what that word evaluate means. We'll learn about it right now. Evaluating expressions. Recall that an algebraic expression contains one or more variables. You can substitute a number for that variable and then find the value of the expression. This is called evaluating the expression. So evaluating means solve. So we should probably write that somewhere, maybe right here. Evaluating means to solve. So on A here where it says evaluate each expression for the given value of the variable, that means to solve it. So let's go ahead and just kind of memorize that. Let's do a couple of these problems here. I'm going to make a little whiteboard to cover. So what does it say? The problem here says x minus 9. And then it tells you what x is. It says x is equal to 15. So what do this is not part of the problem. This is part of, this is information we need to know. So what we immediately do is we know that x is equal to 15. We go over to x here and we replace x with 15. And now the problem is just 15 minus 9. 15 minus 9 is 6. The value of this is 6. That's the answer. That's all you do. It's really simple. It looks way more complicated than it is. When x is equal to 15, x minus 9 equals 6. Let's check out B. B shows 16 over n when n is equal to 8. So the problem is 16 over n. We immediately go and look and see what n is. N is equal to 8. So we take n out and we replace it with 8. So this problem is 16 over 8. And that means 16 divided by 8. 16 divided by 8 is 2. That's the answer. Question C. It says 0.5 right next to y. A couple things to remember. 0.5 right next to y means 0.5 times y. Y is equal to 1.4. You got to be careful when you do this. You don't rewrite this like this, 0.5, 1.4. That's a really weird looking problem. What does that even mean? So you can insert a multiplication sign if you want, or in algebra you would use parentheses. In algebra it would look like this, 0.5 times 1.4. This means times. There's a little tiny multiplication dot in there. This is simply going to be 1.4 times 0.5. So I'm going to do it like this. And I'm just going to do 5 times 14 is 70. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7. It's 70, but then I count over 2 spots. 1, 2, 1, 2. The answer is 0.7 or 0.7 or 0.70. They're the same thing. That's the answer, 0.70. That was probably the most complicated one just because we had a couple of things to do there. You had to remember that 0.5 right next to y means 0.5 times y, and then you had to multiply decimals. Number 6, this one's going to look a little bit confusing, but it's not too bad. It says 6k where k is equal to a third. So the answer to this is not 6 and 1/3. It's 6 times 1/3. Oops, and I wrote 1/2 there. I'm going to rewrite it as 6 right next to k means 6 times k, and k is equal to a third. So I'm going to write it like this, 6 times 1/3. It's time to start getting really comfortable with the idea that 6 right next to another number can be in parentheses. That means multiply. So this is 6 times a third. Back in module 4 when we looked at a problem like this, it would have looked like this, 6 times 1/3. And the first thing I would have said was you need to make 6 a fraction. So now it's 6 over 1 times 1/3. And we could do 6 times 1 is 6, and 1 times 3 is 3. It's 6 over 3. And it just ends up being 2. And if you say, well, that's not the same thing as 6 divided by 3, it really is. A third of 6 means to take 6 and divide it into thirds. 6 split up into thirds is 2. The answer is 2. Alright, if that went too fast for you, you can rewind to the beginning of this video and watch those 4 problems again. Let's go ahead and try the Your Turn problems on, this is now page 270, and we're simply going to do these 3 problems and then we'll move on to a new video. So it says evaluate each expression for the given value of the variable. I wouldn't mind if you tried these first on your own and then checked your answers. If you need more instruction, that's fine. So number 1, the answer is not 48. I understand that if you take the x away and it looks like this, 4 next to 8, that looks like 48. But that's not what it is. 4 next to x means 4 times x. So this is not 4, it's not 48, it's 4 times 8. 4 times 8 is 32. That's the answer to number 1. It's 32. Parentheses means multiply. Number 2, it says 6.5 minus n. And n is equal to 1.8. So I'm going to take 1.8 and put it right here. And then I'm going to immediately line it up right here. And I'm going to need to borrow for this one. I can do 15 minus 8 is 7. And 5 minus 4, or 1 is 4. The answer is 4.7. And number 3, m over 6, where m is equal to 18. So this problem is 18 over 6. And you just need to remember that 18 over 6 means divide. 18 divided by 6 is 3. The answer is 3. Okay, good job. That was the introduction into evaluating expressions. Like I said, if these 3 answers right here didn't come easy to you, then I would say that you start this video over and watch page 269 again. You're done with this page, you can go ahead and the next video will be the rest of page 270. Good job.